Right, Ajay. Thanks so much for that. Ajay, request you to actually stay on with us. We are now joined by a very, very special guest, Deven Choksey, who tracks the oil space pretty closely. Deven, what do you make of the news flow regarding interest into BPCL? Despite COVID, despite where oil prices are, we are picking up that interest is pretty high. Some of the biggies around the world who are oil giant, metal giants have actually expressed their bids or expressed their views to pick up stake into BPCL. What is the sense you get about this asset, BPCL?
Yes, good afternoon, Pankaj. Obviously, I think the BPCL has got, about 7 strategic business units into it, and one of them is refinery unit. Rest of them are, retail, LPG, aviation, lubricants, gas, and industrial commercials, whatever. So I think the whole point here is that who could be interested in such kind of a strategically, diversified company which has got, various businesses under its portfolio. In my viewpoint, an upstream company could possibly be, more looking at integrating themselves with the refinery business. So the refinery business is largely staying inbound, inland refinery rather, but I think they should be, more interested. But what we have understood from, Reliance and BP kind of a tie-up, largely, on the retailing side, that suppose if you end up creating a separate businesses and allow these separate businesses to get uploaded to different partners, probably you are in a much better position to encash your valuation. So if you ask me, I would probably like to see this BPCL kind of a company is strategically, distributing its businesses and probably, allowing in respective business having a partnership. It could possibly create, a better value proposition for BPCL. And vis-a-vis, the current proposition in which right now the BPCL is trying to offload, or the government is trying to offload its stake of 53% to another strategic partner. I would think that it should be, vertical-wise, we should be inviting a partnership that could fetch probably better valuation to the government.
I'd like your thoughts on the kind of valuations this exercise is likely to happen. The stock, of course, is reacting to ET Now story right now. What I am picking up from my sources is that the valuation which is being arrived upon is around the 1.2 lakh crore mark for the entire entity. It's got some treasury stock on the book. It's got a very nice portfolio of investments in other oil companies like IGL, etc., and then the assets which its own, 25% of the marketing, the marketing outlets across the country. How do you see the valuation picture of BPCL, and how do you analyze it as an asset itself?
So Ajay, you touched upon an important point. Suppose if each of these components, which are there into the company, and if they are to be separately valued, including, the financial investments, then probably you could possibly ask for a higher price. But I'm putting across another point. Suppose if a buyer is interested in buying this particular asset, whether he is fully convinced about the energy scenario of the world, the oil market scenario of the world, I guess that's where the bigger challenge would be. That many of the players, would probably not be buying this argument that they are convinced about hydrocarbon businesses going forward. So from that perspective, either you separate out each of the verticals and then probably invite separate investors into these businesses and encash the valuation, or else you will have to do a slump sell of all the 6-7 verticals to a prospective buyer and give away the full stake of government of 53%, and allow the buyer to thereafter encash the valuation. Whether it could be 1 lakh crore or 1,20,000 crore or current 80,000 crore. That is a difficult call to take at this point of time, because global environment is not so very conducive to put such kind of big money into the system. Anybody wanting to put, they will have to put anywhere between 40,000 to 60,000 crore worth of money. If at all, they would probably look at BPCL's whole stake has to be bought out from the government. And that's a serious money. I don't think that easily somebody can be made available for this kind of a stake buying. Maybe a simple approach which I put across could possibly drive better results for the government, which really wants to sell their assets in a systematic manner this week.
Right. Deven, what does it entail for any global big oil major, say like Rosneft, say like Aramco or even ADNOC, which we are gathering, will be participating the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company? Because, you know, when we analyzing and talk to experts, India is one of the key markets which is large in size and is growing, apart from, of course, China. But not many other markets have this kind of a growth and visibility for next 10, 20 years plus kind of. What are your thoughts here from a perspective of an investor, long-term investor?
So any long-term investor will have to be a strategic investor. That is the first point here. He has to find some kind of a strategy into the downstream businesses of BPCL along with, I think, the businesses that they have. Say, for example, some of the names which I mentioned about Aramco or Exxon, such kind of companies. If they do have, Aramco probably, I think, would have the more amount of appetite to see to it that I think their oil is getting sold out to the refining segment. And in turn, I think they have surety about, I think, that particular aspect. So from that point of view, they may be interested. However, I think as I put across, I think anybody come across will probably find value in refinery. Say, for example, Aramco, they may find value in refinery. Would they find an equal value in retail, LPGs and lubricants and gas, etc.? I'm not too sure. That is an area where probably I think you may find Exxon kind of company, I think, more conveniently coming into it and probably I think looking at this area. So that is where I'm saying that I think no single company at this point of time, as I see it, would be interested in all 6 or 7 verticals. Maybe I think individual companies could possibly come and buy out each one of the verticals. And that is where I think better monetization can happen. Like you said, 1,20,000 crores. In my viewpoint, I think if individual verticals are, I think, being monetized, then in such situation, I think we could possibly get into the direction of targeting 1,20,000 crore worth of valuation which you are referring to.
Right, Deven. Thanks so much for giving us your first reaction. Of course, this is a developing story that we are getting you.